My name is Maria Delano, and I am your bartender and host of the Marketing Speakeasy, a show where we talk to marketing leaders about things that they actually think about the industry and, get the after hours kind of raw, unfiltered vibe of what people believe about their work and the things that they see in the field being in marketing. Right? Think about it as the kind of conversation you would have after a long day at the office, after having a couple of drinks and maybe sitting at the bar for a little bit too long, chatting with the bartender about all of your woes and deepest dreams and desires. That's kind of what we try to cultivate here. So we serve those marketing insights to you with a twist, which is a bit of a game show segment where I design kind of custom trivia and game showy questions and challenges for the guest that we intersperse with the regular conversation. Hope you enjoy. Today's guest was phenomenal, honestly. Her name is Melissa Rosenthal. She is currently the co-founder of Outlever, which is basically a company that helps you make a brand new marketing channel out of having industry insights and relationships with your customers and the things that they care about, right? We talked a lot about this, so you will get a much better overview, but essentially Outlever, it transforms brands into like a trade publication of their own and a news source for their industry and for the people who they're trying to attract with a truly unique point of view. Melissa is fantastic. She's a media and tech executive. She started her career at BuzzFeed back at its heyday. She was the VP of creative there. She then was the CRO of Cheddar, which was another media startup. She was the chief creative officer of ClickUp most recently. And before that, she was also the CMO of Insight Timer. So she's been around in media. She's been around in B2B marketing. She's been thinking of creative things all the while. And it shows. Honestly, Melissa is so refreshing and she has such a strong point of view on things. And I think that the conversation we've had will be very interesting to a lot of you, especially those of you who are wondering how B2B marketing can be made better with insights from the media, right? And if you've ever looked at the old BuzzFeed and thought, hey, why can't we do that? And where did it all go wrong? We did get into that a fair bit. So stay tuned and follow along, and we hope you enjoy. Hi, Melissa. Good to see you.
Hi. Great to be here.
How are you doing today?
Doing great. Can't complain.
Yeah, it's early morning for you, right? You're in California, so you're starting the day with us?
It's like 8:40, yeah, which I guess is
Wow.
morning. I've been up for a bit,
Wow.
but
What time do you usually wake up?
depends on what time I finish the day. Today I woke up at 6, but
Wow.
it's
Have
not
you
that
always been a
early.
morning person?
No, entrepreneurship forced me into that very, very fast. We've our team is global, so it's kind of hard to be asleep too long, you know.
That makes sense. Yeah, I work a lot with Europe as well, so I keep waking up at 7 and starting my day at 8 most of the time. Today was a late one though, which was a very nice luxury. I don't remember last time I got to sleep in during a weekday.
Yeah,
But thank
yeah,
you for
definitely
making the
luxury.
time to talk in the morning, though. I do really
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate it.
Happy to
Well,
do it.
as I was saying before, I am utterly fascinated by you, and I have been very excited for this conversation. So I think it's going to be a good one. I hope it will be. And to start off, I would like for you to introduce yourself. But could you please introduce yourself in a way that your prototypical grandma would understand without any jargon?
Sure. I'm Melissa Rosenthal. In my past life and former career, I've built media companies, so digital publishers, companies that send content from one place and have it distributed by many people. And now I moved over to B2B tech, so was in the tech world for a bit with a company called ClickUp, where I ran marketing for 4 years, and now I am on my own. Started a company called Outlever about a year ago, and that's where I am. So I've been in the intersection between media and technology, and now I am trying my own thing.
How's trying your own thing going? That must be quite an
It's hard.
adventure, right? After being in-house at bigger companies and bigger startups for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I always started and joined companies pretty early. So I was number 10 at BuzzFeed. I started helped start Cheddar. So I mean, I've always been very, very early, but I will say that nothing prepares you for it being your fully your own. That is a whole set of other chaos that you invite into your life, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, because when you're an early employee at a startup, you can always blame the founders for getting something wrong. Be like, I would have done it better if it were me in their shoes. But when it's actually you in their shoes, you're the one that should be doing better, right?
Yeah, yeah. You are at fault for everything. You're an operator. Everything falls back on you. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's fun. It's fun though. I can't complain.
it is fun. Yeah, yeah. I love entrepreneurship as well. It's just it's its own adventure, right?
Every day.
Yeah. So to continue the theme of explaining things to grandmas, can you explain Outlever to me, ideally also without using any jargon, and in as simple terms as possible?
I'll try. I'll try
Yeah,
very hard.
it's okay. It's supposed
So
to be
out
hard.
so Outlever was born. Let me just I guess maybe start there. Outlever was born because of my experience both in media and technology. In
Yep.
media, we were building these authoritative media brands to effectively sell advertising into companies so that we could lend them our voice for a set period of time. And I always thought that there was like grave inefficiency in that. Like, why can't companies own the things that they actually care about, want to speak about daily? And I mean, that was our business model. So you don't question that too much. But as I then transitioned into technology and I realized at ClickUp, I had a really big marketing budget, but our TAM, our total addressable market, was also very, very large. And being able to be in the world of all of your different customers at any given point in time so that when they're ready to buy, you're there for them it's tough, it's tricky. So what we've done at Outlever is effectively allow you to become the media trade publication of your dreams. So instead of borrowing or advertising in trades, you become them. And that allows you a lot of different levers that you're able to pull. One, you're able to like build the brand credibility and authority of your industry, right? Like instead of a TechCrunch, like you can become that trade publication that has that authoritative voice that kind of dominates that. At the same time, what we do is the news is the news, right? Like we do publish news for our customers. We make them trade publications. But the news is only sort of interesting. It's what's happening.
Mhm.
It's very linear, it's finite. But what is not, and what also can't be replaced, by AI in the future is people's perspectives and opinions. So for every news piece we publish, we go out the door and we speak to people. We speak to people's prospect customers. We speak to their existing customers. We speak to subject matter experts, and we get their take and their perspective on what's happening in the market. So the cybersecurity company Wiz just sold to Google for
Yep.
$32 billion. We published that for a few of our customers, different angles. Um, but then we go out the door, and depending upon who you speak to, their take is completely different. So that story could evolve many different ways.
Yeah.
So, I think the most valuable thing is the fact that, people's voices are very like trapped value because there's a lot of really interesting information in that. And, we're allowing our customers to build relationships with the people that they want to build relationships with. So it's a mix of thought leadership, brand building authority, demand gen, relationship, and outbound. So it's basically combining every motion that exists within B2B tech, and it's saying, hey, let's bring this together in a well thought out, curated way of approaching it that's very human, that also bets against the fact that AI will replace the majority of, or create the majority of crappy content and outbound and all these things we think are going to head in this direction. Let's head in this direction. So I didn't explain, like my grandma probably wouldn't understand that. But
Some
hopefully you do.
grandmas might, grandmas that are very in the loop and the
Yeah.
reason they use a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This was an explanation for the technically savvy grandma.
For sure.
There was so much that you said that I want to dig into. I'm thinking where to start. I love just how cross-functional it is almost right across the different motions of
Yeah.
marketing because I personally, it's one of my pet peeves, just how much marketing has gotten siloed off into all of these totally different things as if your outbound has nothing to do with, your PR strategy, which has nothing to do with your social media. That's not true. It's the
Yeah.
same customers experiencing your brand in different places. So why not unify or at least coordinate it in some way, right? So I love the idea
100%.
of motions that are kind of grabbing all of that and doing something combined all together by design.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I always struggled with that. I didn't really fully understand why these motions can't work together. At least in like, even if we're the starting point for that, I think it's pretty interesting. And I think a lot of companies are rethinking like how that happens. But it's also very interesting because when we're working with people where those motions don't typically work together well. Like bringing them into the fold and like how do we engage our sales team and how do we do this and how do we engage our social team? I guess I figured those were muscles that were much more like figured out than they actually are. And at ClickUp we did a pretty good job. I mean, we weren't perfect for sure,
Huh.
but yeah, I think it's just very interesting now, like because we're so in the weeds with so many different customers and companies that we see the way that they operate very closely, like almost under a microscope. And yeah, it's very interesting how still like separate these things are in their kind of go to market strategy.
It's exciting though, isn't it, when you start working with a client and you tell them something that you think might be obvious or that they already know, and then you realize they have not figured this out. They might have never even thought about it this way. Wow, okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
blow your mind.
yeah. The funniest thing about it to me, and I don't think I like podcasts because sometimes when we're talking, I'll say things that I've never said in like other podcasts. The
I
the
love that.
funny the strangest thing to me, I guess, is that so when we're in market and we're talking to people, people get really excited about what we're building. Um, but it's I'm not selling an existing motion. I'm not selling something that, like, they completely understand, which I guess is also a little strange. Like, I think
Yeah,
I go in being like, "This should be, like, like, a no-brainer for you," but they don't understand it because of how desperate those pieces are. So they're looking through their own little, like,
yeah,
glass, and they're like, "My world," but not, like, our holistic marketing world. Like, CMOs do see it, many do. I like when I talk to CMOs, it's much easier. When you're talking to one function, it's tough for sure. But I'm like,
blinders, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if I realized like how in their lane most people want to stay. Which has been, I'm just like, I'm gonna blow your mind right now, and you're gonna be like, oh my
Yeah.
god, I never thought about this way. And sometimes that definitely happens, and people are like, "That's really smart, that's really clever, I totally get that." Those are usually CMOs and some other leaders, but yeah, I just I don't know, I think that was, like, pretty shocking to me that this wasn't, like, a no-brainer, like, "Oh, we're doing all of these things." Like, I'm not this is a very new concept, but
Yeah.
it's a concept of just bringing things together and creating emotion that is very human. And I just, I don't know, I guess I was surprised that it wasn't just like, yeah, that's like, this makes no sense. Oh, this makes a ton of sense. So I think like in a weird way, we're like both like trying to reimagine what a lot of these functions could be doing together. And like, it is almost category creation in a weird way, which I
Yeah.
didn't think it would be.
Yeah, it's like all you think you're doing is just helping the functions work together, right? And you're not thinking that you're creating anything new, but it's like, wait, nobody has been thinking this way, right? And it's like, wow, I guess I'm being more revolutionary than I thought. Okay, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah, which is, I mean, there's like blessings and curses to that for sure
Yes.
because you
Yeah.
have to know educate people on why like that works. When I think in your own head, you're like, well, of course, like how like why wouldn't this work? Um, yeah, it's very interesting. I think that's as a founder, I think you always believe in your own product, but like I've been in market and I've seen the need for this and I've seen you know motions work and think the best thing I usually give them is like this is basically as if you had 1,000 podcasts at scale. And then all of a sudden like that clicks usually. So
Oh,
I
that's good.
try to give that analogy just to kind of like level set it. But think about that, right? Like the fact that that's the analogy that I have to give because finally, like podcast, after probably years and years and years, they understand the value of what a podcast does, right?
Which took
So,
a while. Yeah.
right. So yeah, I always think that's very interesting. It's like, oh, I get it. Podcast at scale. But like,
Yeah. It's not quite it, but it's like you're almost yeah.
yeah,
It's always interesting what actually clicks with people. It's often not what you think it would, at least for me. It's not. It's like not the first
for
metaphor I
sure.
try, not the second, often not even the 10th, but then once I find it's like, okay, I don't know why this one is the one, but I'm glad it works.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Going back to what you were saying about, I'm very interested in like why this happens because this is a problem that bugs me too. Like we also often come at marketing in a very cross-functional way, and we get the same like startled looks of like we never thought about this, right? And so this bugs me. Sometimes going to sleep at night, I'm like, why does this happen? Right. So I'm very curious to hear your take about why this happens, and I want to kind of hone in on two things you've said. You mentioned that the point of view is kind of trapped value, right? You phrased it that way, that it's something that companies can't capture for some reason or don't know how. And then when you were talking about functions, you said that they were desperate. So could you kind of go deeper into all of these things and what might be happening here and why this is not a way marketing departments are used to thinking in?
So the trapped value is just the reality of like for us that there's all these amazing people out there that have great opinions that aren't being leveraged in traditional media, aren't being
Yeah.
spoken to, and media today is dying. Like, I mean, it's dying a no a faster death, but basically it's being sold to PE. They've gutted their newsrooms. Like, if you have a PR team trying to get you into TechCrunch, like I just don't see the value of that anymore. Rather than why don't you go out and speak to 100 people every month that are in your core ICP set and hear what they need to have to say and become the trade publication that features them. It's just like
Yeah.
reverse engineering and kind of flipping it on its head. I don't know what I said about being desperate, but I will say that like I don't think there's a lot of new things in marketing today. And I've spoken to now probably like 200 people, 200 marketers, maybe more, and I have not heard one new idea. Not one new idea.
Oh
I
God.
I mean, it's like I really like I always ask people like, "Well, what are you guys doing? Like what's,
Yeah.
how are you growing?" It's like paid spend, blog SEO,
SEO,
events.
yep.
And I'm like just like there's got to be like
Outbound. Right. That's the other one. As if they
I'm
discovered fire.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of opinions on all of that stuff, but yeah, I'm like I don't know how we can't be operating in a way that people are doing new things, or the fact that all these channels have dried up so much that it's like these are the things that we try to optimize and suck all the remaining juice out of until what happens, right? There's nothing left. And I see that as the end. And like that's why I'm like, we're trying to create a brand new channel for you, a way to reach real people in real meaningful ways. And not only are you able to extract value, you're able to provide value. And I think that's the future. It's like, how do you provide the most value possible to someone that you eventually want to have build a business relationship with? That's what it's about. Um, yeah. So I don't know. It's like it's just wild to me. I figured I would hear unbelievable, like just like,
Yeah.
well, we're doing this and we're trying this. And I'm like, wow, like
Yeah.
feed that into our model, but there hasn't really been anything where I'm like super excited about what's happening in marketing. I don't know. I used to be, and I think it was more just like people were very hacky and growth oriented and figuring things out. Like at ClickUp, it was like every day we would like try to like hack things. And I
Uh-huh.
think it was like everyone had this very scrappy entrepreneurial mindset. I'm sure that might go away as you get bigger as a company. I mean, we went from 40 to 1,500 people. So
Mm.
definitely it was like, but we never like lost that. And we were
Yeah.
always just trying to break the internet and make noise. I think making noise is a good strategy. Like my friend at Air, he's Air is like basically trying to kill Dropbox. It's a asset manager
Okay.
for creative people.
It's
And
cool.
they just came out with this campaign the other day with Bonnie Blue, the adult star,
Oh,
um,
interesting.
who has a record that she had set. And they have her in the Air commercial, and it's I mean, I think it's hilarious. I mean, it's definitely like the boldest SaaS advertising I've seen in a really long time.
That sounds
And
really bold. I'm gonna look that up after this recording.
it's wild. So
Yeah.
so, I'm like, "You know what? Like, do that." Like, you have to be polarizing to, like, make some noise, and I think, like, no one ignores bold. And, so what we did is, like, we went out the door and we're like, "Well, that's interesting." So, of course, we would interview him for one of our
Uh-huh.
customers and do a profile in what they're doing in their space. Like, I think there's just, like, so much, like, just lack of anything, in marketing. Sorry.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Marketing feels very meh as a space
Yeah,
right
and
now,
I
especially in
guess, like
B2B.
I'm such, like, a entrepreneurial, passionate, like, emotional person that, like, when I talk to people that are apathetic, I get, like, upset, I'm like, "What do you
Why don't you
mean?"
care?
What do you mean you're not doing anything new? Well, why? Like, I'm sure if you
Yeah.
sat in a room with a bunch of other really smart, cool, creative people for a day, you could come up with some cool things you could try that wouldn't cost that much money. Or you'd be seeking out new avenues and new opportunities, but you're not. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to. I want to end this
You
rant.
know, this reminds me of a post I saw from you the other day, which was you posted a screenshot of one of those emails you got with prices for like 7,000 to get published in Forbes or Wired or MIT
Yeah,
Tech
yeah,
Review, I think was the one. I
yeah.
was looking at that post, I was looking at the comments section, and I get peeved by this too, but I'd love to hear your take on it, right? If you could explain why is it not worth it these days, right? To our audience who might not realize this at the moment.
Yeah,
Why might
yeah.
it be a waste of money to go for it?
Well, because those brands have lost all credibility because that's what they're doing. A, okay, let's just take TechCrunch for example, right? So TechCrunch just sold at a fire sale from Yahoo to private equity. They've gutted their newsroom. There's
Oh, when did
probably
this happen? I missed that one.
2 days ago.
Okay, yeah.
Uh,
All right. I don't feel bad.
so there's probably like all told like 10 people still in the news desk at TechCrunch, like
Okay.
10 people.
Wow.
So
Wow.
you have that. The eyeballs are think about where they're getting their distribution from. It's all programmatic. So
Yeah.
like the eyeballs are bots. So now you're paying $7,000 for an article written by a contributor, not by a staff writer, by a
Yeah.
contributor that goes somewhere on TechCrunch that no one sees. That like but I just don't really understand. Like, what is the ROI and the value? The ROI used to be you can assign your name with being featured in TechCrunch.
Yeah.
But also, when TechCrunch, that's becomes their only revenue model, and that's what they're doing, you devalue that devalues itself overnight anyway. And if everyone knows that anyone can pay for it, what's the value of being placed in it? Now I mean, listen, like I think I try to think in that like cynical way. Maybe there is some value for like people that like have no like really think that legitimizes them, but like that I don't know. There's just no ROI there. And I think that's just a thing of the past. I don't know. I think we'll see that for like another year, and then TechCrunch will be shut down completely. So
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
yeah,
And we still get clients coming asking, "Can you get us into TechCrunch?" And I
yeah,
always ask
oh
why,
yeah,
right? And there's often no reason other than, well, we think it sounds nice, right? We feel like we've seen it before. We've seen how cool brands sounded saying they got featured in TechCrunch. We just want it too. Can we have our gold star? Right? It
yeah,
feels like
for sure.
checkbox marketing
Yes,
more than
check back.
anything.
Yeah. So we're trying to reimagine what that model looks like for the future, and I think we're going to do that. Like at Cheddar, it was the same thing. Like we put ourselves on the floor of the stock exchange next to CNBC, and no one had heard of us, and we had to build ourselves from the ground up. And everyone wanted to be on CNBC, but no one wanted to be on Cheddar. But then all of a sudden, what happens is like there's this phenomenon called elephant bumping, which is when you put your peer set in the same room as you have to be where they are. And the minute that you start getting people either equal to or of higher value, perceived value in the market than that person, of course they're going to do that. So like the minute that you get one good person, you can get 20 other really great people. Yeah.
Have you heard of the psychology terms like fixed mindset and growth mindset? They're often used for like personal productivity and learning,
Yeah.
right? So just to explain for the audience if they don't know, fixed mindset is just believing that certain traits are fixed, right? You're smart or you're not smart, you're good at math or you're not good at math, things like that. Growth mindset is recognizing that you can change, you can learn, you can do things that make you good at math, even if you're not right now. I often think of that the same way with marketing. I feel like marketing and brand building is stuck in a fixed mindset, like industry wide right now, where people feel like either you're a reputable brand or you're not, right? Either you're TechCrunch or you're Cheddar when nobody's heard of Cheddar, right? And they don't realize that you can change that, which is really weird because as marketers, our job descriptions are we change that, we build brands, we create reputations. And yet, when you look at every other
Mhm.
brand, right, people are constantly thinking and judging them as if their value and their reputation is fixed in time.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think there's like, brand building in general is sort of like
Uh-huh.
under attack, like I don't think that like it's weird to me. I honestly like it just upsets me to have this conversation, but it's like brand is a lot of things, like, for sure.
Yeah.
It's the experience you have with your customers. It's every single thing that you do and every touch point that they have with you. I will say that first.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if no one's ever heard of you, how do you grow? So, I mean, like, I do believe that there needs to be like a certainly a very intentional like strategy to grow your brand. And it's not just going to happen through that channel. I think it's like everything firing on a million cylinders and doing a lot of really great things right all the time and making noise while doing them. That's like my strategy for brand growth. It's
I
it's building until you can't be ignored. It's doing really unique and creative things. It's capturing people's attention. It's stopping the scroll. It's having amazing customer experiences and relationships, and it's building relationships and getting referrals.
Which all of that makes sense to me. Like when you say that, I think it's perfectly logical. But just like you, I've found talking to people in the market doesn't seem to be logical to everybody, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Hopefully, it's gonna change.
yeah.
I mean, I hope brands like Outlever can help that change.
I hope
Sincerely.
so. Yeah, I
All
hope
right.
so, for sure.
To change gears a little bit and get out of this negative space we've reeled into, I want us to do our first little activity. So I would love to talk a bit more about your time at BuzzFeed and how that shaped the rest of your career and the way you look at the market. I was a BuzzFeed super fan, to admit. Back in the day that you were there, right? I was watching BuzzFeed all the time. I was on the site all the time, right? I was a big fan of a lot of things. So I think about BuzzFeed constantly.
Cool.
And I wanted us to do a little activity kind of based on it,
Oh,
which
no.
I'm going to call Sprinkle Some Buzz, which
Okay.
is basically, I would like to ask you to BuzzFeedify certain things. So I have three
Oh.
prompts here,
Oh,
which
god.
is describe this marketing term, but in the format of this BuzzFeed thing.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess so. Let's do it.
And you can have multiple attempts if you need to. We can edit them out. So you're good. All right. Here's the first one. Describe the concept of media outreach, right, and media relations in the format of a BuzzFeed article headline. So like the typical ones that we had back in the day, right, with a bunch of numbers and the kind of really buzzy words and clickbaity.
Yeah. Um, Sorry, what would the prompt again is explain just to repeat the prompt?
Media outreach. So something about media outreach, as if you're titling a BuzzFeed article headline from like 2013 about
Media
it.
outreach meaning like getting into
Mm-hmm.
TechCrunch?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, 10 reasons you should be featured in this dying publication.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yep, 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 yep. That I love
Uh,
that.
yeah, my BuzzFeed is like a brain, you have to like turn
Yep.
it on. That one made sense for what it was, but it wasn't like true BuzzFeed. True BuzzFeed would be a little bit deeper than that, but we'll take that one.
I know.
I'm warming up,
It's this
It's
is
like
this is we're warming up. This is for a
no.
game. It's fine. That was funny. I like it.
I
I'll
thought I
take it.
thought you I actually thought you were gonna ask me what my first listicle was that I created.
No, that's not
I
that's
won't
not
tell
as
you
fun.
that.
We have a similar kind of question later, but that's
Okay.
for another activity.
Okay.
Next one is describe kind of the concept of thought leadership, right, and why brands should have their own like point of view, in the format of a Try Guys video. If you remember who the Try Guys were,
Yeah, of
I assume you
course.
do.
Wait, what was the problem? One more time.
Thought leadership, right, and just what thought leadership is. So something like Try Guys, try thought leadership. That would
Yeah,
be the
yeah,
most
yeah.
basic one, but we need
Yeah,
something more
yeah.
interesting.
Um, Try guys, try getting their voices heard in a sea of large barking sea lions.
I see it. I see it.
You know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
like go that way.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I like it. Last one. Now we're gonna do in the format of a BuzzFeed quiz question. So not just the title of a quiz, but as if it was one of the questions on a quiz.
Okay.
And describe marketing ROI.
Um, hmm. Okay. Oh man, sorry. That was really. I'm like flipping through the
You're good.
answers. Marketing ROI. Okay. Um, which one of these describes the reason you want to quit your job?
That is real. That is, I will take it. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. I
All right.
appreciate you entertaining me. That was great. So on the topic of BuzzFeed, I often think about BuzzFeed when I think about the state of the internet today and when I think about the state of marketing today, because I think BuzzFeed and publications like it back in the day kind of shaped a lot of what digital marketing has become and how people think, of digital publications, right? Like the whole ad revenue being the only thing that you get, right? And trying to get as much traffic as possible and going for clickbait and trying to get just as many eyeballs because you're trying to get traffic and clicks on that ad revenue, and that's your only kind of business model essentially for content. I feel like we're still seeing that everywhere, echoes of it, right? With even backlinks or different kind of referral tactics that are in B2B. I would love to hear from your end, looking at the problems you see in marketing now. Do you see echoes of what you and the team at BuzzFeed were doing back in the day and how that may have shaped the landscape? Maybe not in the right ways or in good
Yeah.
ways. I'm not sure.
Are you leading me into what I posted the other day or no?
I'm actually not. I've been thinking
Okay.
about the book Traffic by Ben
Okay.
Smith because I've
Okay.
been reading
Okay.
it recently, and that was part of why we ended up scheduling with you and why I
Cool.
wanted to talk to you.
Okay. I thought you were leading me into a post I made the other day.
You can tell me about it.
One analogy I had that I like. Sometimes I think about these things and I'm like, what the
Mhm.
fuck? I'm sorry. I curse. Uh,
You can curse. We mark this as explicit. You can curse all you want.
okay. I said
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? Why is no one thinking about this the same way?
Mhm.
And it was basically like, so when you think about what happened with digital publishers and digital media, is that we became really reliant on the rails, which the rails were social channels like Facebook and Instagram and everything else for our growth, right? We didn't really have control of our distribution. And with BuzzFeed and all of these other media companies coming up, we flooded the rails. We flooded the rails too heavily to the point where there was a pullback from the platforms where they said, we're going to devalue the stuff within our algorithms.
Yeah, we're gonna
And
derank clicking on links, right? Getting out of
yeah,
the platform. Yeah.
so the highest analogy there is just like you building on rented land is always very dangerous. And like there's no way around that. Like I don't want to say that that's not something you have to do these days because you just have to do it. But when you think about like outbound, for example, like outbound is rented land, like email deliverability is rented land. And if we're already seeing challenges with it, right? We're still now building the same way. And now we're, I mean, I don't, this is also very timely, but we're also creating companies and funneling $70 million into them to build AI bots to basically erode that channel even more. So what do we think is going to happen to email deliverability then, which means outbound will actually go away for good. Like I think the channel will become like absolutely dead. I mean, it is dead. Like I mean, I don't know about your inbox, but mine is just like it's horrible. It used to be the place you could reach the person at the right time with the right message. And when you build companies to dilute that, you effectively kill the channel. So like my thing there was like how long can you swim in the waters that you pollute? And I see that with other things as well. It's the same thing with SEO, right? Like when you start to commoditize something and then build things to scale it in ways that it shouldn't be scaled and dehumanizes it, there's going to be a pullback at some point. And you don't own that algorithm. You don't own like Google's changes and you don't own your deliverability of your inbox. So I just keep thinking to what happened with BuzzFeed, and I see all these like yellow warning flags across the entirety of marketing where the lessons are like very applicable to what happened back then, in which now what we're trying to build is something in which you don't have that challenge. They're direct relationships that you're basing you're building on, and you're building on something that is yours and that's infinitely scalable, that has no upward limit of what happens to it because you control that. And the distribution is through people, not through uh a channel that everyone uses.
When you say distribution is through people, not through a channel, what do you mean there specifically? Because often when people talk about the same problems that you're identifying, the solution I constantly hear is email, right? It's always like email is actually owned. You can just send emails because you own your email list. You send newsletters, right? Which, as you're pointing out, deliverability is not something you fully control. So what is it that you actually do control? What does that look like?
It's relationships. So it's
Mhm.
people sharing out valuable content because they think it's valuable for them. It makes them look good and it's valuable for their network. That's owned, right? Like that is a relationship that you've built and you're providing value to someone. What else? Like the fact that someone is sharing something internally within their company Slack channel that is owned because that's a channel in which you're basically just curating something that will be shared in that capacity. But again, like I've always believed that people distributed media and media people as media channels because the more that you're able to find people's niche networks and have content find the right audience through those niche networks of people, the more relatable and more on point that content is to those individuals who are into seeing it. And B, you're never going to be beholden to a single channel as your main form of distribution. And those are the two things I think that are very worth diversifying. Have an amazing network of people that you're able to utilize daily that are different, that tap into different ICP sets, and find a way that you're not beholden to a behemoth of a company that can flip a switch and change everything overnight.
To play devil's advocate for a second here, aren't the relationships you have with people and the way that they distribute things to their network also channel dependent in many ways, right? Because maybe you have relationships with people that like to distribute things
Yeah,
over a LinkedIn, right? Or some social media network. In that way, they are still beholden to the algorithm and whatever happens with that platform, right? So
sure.
wouldn't the value and the ability to distribute through people still fluctuate and go away and suffer the same risks?
Very fair. But LinkedIn is built on people and it's built on people sharing and people connecting and sharing valuable information. So you are de-risking and diversifying by doing that through individuals. LinkedIn may cut organic reach to a brand's channel, but even with algorithm tweaks, they're never going to cut off distribution for individuals because the platform is built on that entirely. So, like Facebook didn't cut off people sharing. They cut off
No.
publisher content, and they wanted Facebook to become a place where people shared like personal things with other people. They just didn't want our content on there anymore. So LinkedIn is people sharing valuable thought leadership and valuable pieces of content with their direct networks. I think that's the future. I think it's niche network specific content that makes them look like heroes. I mean, the more people that speak on LinkedIn, the more valuable LinkedIn becomes. So you're riding the right wave, I believe. But you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, for sure, I don't think there's anything that is
Yeah.
completely independent, but I think that's my biggest I think that's like, what the future will favor, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And I think even going further than what you've said, the other part of de-risking it, to your point about that, is that people are able to switch networks, right? Like if you have a relationship with the same person, right, that person might be posting on LinkedIn today, but then later on, if everybody stops going to LinkedIn, they will go somewhere else. It might be Slack, it might be some new
Yeah,
social network. And if they still have a relationship with you, they're likely going to post about the same things
yeah,
there.
100%. I think Slack is an amazing distribution channel that no
Mhm.
one thinks about because you can't control it. There's no way you can control the distribution of Slack, but people share valuable information that's valuable to their company in there. And I think that is a really interesting, unique way that content is being surfaced that we don't think about. So certainly I think about that and I optimize for that within our own company. But yeah, I think I'm constantly just thinking about like, there's nothing that's going to stop people from communicating and sharing with one another. Let's just ride the wave of where that's headed.
Going back to your kind of start at BuzzFeed and then your start in media in general with Cheddar as well, how do you think about attention? Because I feel like your early career experiences really position you to understand attention and digital attention and how to shape cultural conversations and cultural relevancy. How do you
Yeah.
think about it today? How do you picture it? How do you understand it?
I mean, I think the best thing that you could do is sort of like insert yourself into the conversation when it's relevant, right? Like newsjacking is, I think, the most valuable thing a company can do because it positions you alongside the thing that you want to be associated with the most. Now, what does that mean? I mean, it like means different things for different companies. It can mean, attaching yourself to a culturally relevant campaign if you're a B2C company. Or for B2B, it could say like, hey, this thing is happening in our world. We want to have a stance or a position on it. We're going to create a campaign or create some content around it. But I think the constant like newsjacking of attention and borrowing of attention is the way that you really stand out. I mean, I think that's like it has shifted over time, but like for sure, I think that's like a very tried and true way to guarantee that you can ride the wave of other things that are relevant. And the beauty of the news and the beauty of the things that are happening is it's happening every day. So it doesn't mean that like every day you need to attach yourself to something different, but there's going to be ample opportunities for you able to jump on the bandwagon of something that's happening in culture. Um, and also apply that through the very specific lens of what your company does and how that should be talked about.
Yeah, having an actual point of view as a brand, right? Like, because people say point of view as a brand, and they can mean all kinds of things, right? Often it just means we're gonna include some of our own sentences in this SEO article, right? But like
Yeah.
an actual, what do you believe? And to your point, much earlier in this conversation, it will be polarizing, right? Because if it's an
Yeah,
actual opinion, not everybody's gonna agree with it.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And I guess, how do you think about traffic and like balancing that? Because I feel like there's a danger in chasing traffic too much, right? To your point earlier, you can oversaturate a channel easily as a brand, right? If you get a lot of control and traction of the conversation and you push it too far, you're going to drain that swamp, essentially. So when you're
Yeah.
working with clients, when you're thinking about what Outlever should be doing and will be doing, how do you make sure you stay on the right side of that line and don't go too far?
Yeah, I mean, I think traffic is actually like the least interesting metric for us. I
Mhm.
think it's definitely not like quantity and
Yeah.
like number of views. I think it's like who's viewing the content, right? Like if we're getting entire companies coming to that article because it's featuring someone within their own company or within their own network, that's value. Like I don't
Yeah.
care about a number. Numbers are garbage. Like unless they're meaningful, like metrics can be very, very hollow. And I think that we're going to stop chasing traffic and we're going to be chasing the eyeballs that matter. I mean, why do you think like private dinners work and like, small conferences? It's because it's a human to human relationship. It's you're going for the quality of those interactions versus quantity. And I think that that's like quantity is like a viewpoint when things are not oversaturated, but they are. And quantity means nothing anymore.
Yeah.
Volume
Everything's
means nothing.
oversaturated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the kind of best ways it was explained to me and helped me think about the quality versus quantity of attention was somebody asked me a couple of years ago, think about the value of the same eyeballs and the value of attention of a person reading your article online versus being in a conference room and actually listening, right? Because the person
Yeah.
sitting there looking at you in person, their full attention is on you, right, for half an hour. The same 20 people might be way more valuable than them interacting with an article online where they might glance at it, click away, right? They might be doing a bazillion other things, forget about it, things like
Yep.
that. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a bet on the future, which is the reverse of like, which is just the most human thing in like,
yeah.
I bet on humans and I bet on human interactions and the things I know. Like one thing I like really love is I love billboards at ClickUp. Like I bought a lot of billboards
I've seen
because
good billboards from ClickUp. I still see like good advertisements on the subway here in New York from ClickUp
yeah, yeah,
constantly. Yeah.
I love billboards because there's no bot, there's no ad fraud. You know exactly where they're going and you can place them like physically next to your competitors. Like you know
Yeah.
where they're going and you know people are going to see them, especially if you know the real estate. And I think the purest form of knowing someone is going to see something and then being able to craft that message to like dominate their attention while they're seeing it is like that's how I think. I think
Yeah.
my brain really likes that. It's like,
I get that.
okay, so I see this person is going to exit the subway here outside of their office in a neighborhood in which they probably are searching for our software. And then when I get to this corner, I know they have to take their ear pods out because if this happens, and I'm going to put some big billboard that, creates this lofty promise right in front of them that they're not going to be able to ignore. That's it.
Ah,
Like, I know that action and I can understand it. What I can't
yeah.
understand is, like, let me buy a programmatic ad and have it be sprayed across the internet and file streaming sharing sites and garbage next to it. And, I like control, I think. That level of control.
Yeah, it's interesting because so many of the things we talked about require less control than people are used to, but it's control in a different way. I feel like it's control and granularity in a very different dimension. It's not control over we're going to have exactly this many clicks in this many places and we're going to be able to trace how many people saw it and where they clicked on it. It's more control over the experience, and I think it's a control over what actually matters at the end of the day, the
Yeah,
impact on the
100%.
person. To finish up, I have another little activity for us. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Guess so.
This one is called Picture This. And the idea here is I have a couple of prompts for you to describe a certain situation. And I want you to basically paint the scene for us using exclusively descriptors of things
Mhm.
you could visually see when this was happening. So it's like, you can see this, you can see that, but nothing about what you could smell, touch, hear, right? Nothing like that or external context. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the first scene I'd like you to paint is first day working at BuzzFeed for you. What was that like? A scene from that.
My first day. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you can see, um, page falling off the wall. You can see cockroaches and coffee. You can see 5 people at a desk the size of a small kitchen table. You can see a big cat poster on the wall.
Can you describe the cat poster if you remember it?
It was an internet cat. You can see a poster of Colonel Meow.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. I had no idea where this was going to go, and I'm very glad that I asked.
Yeah, and then I will. Our first office, like I started when there were like less than 10 people, and we were
Yeah.
in a tiny office in Chinatown, and it was falling apart. So, that's the
It
scene.
sounds like typical early startup days, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I can picture.
our next office was much nicer and much
Yeah,
cooler.
but there's no fun in describing that.
No.
Well, now for a contrast point. Describe for me the scene of your last day working full time at ClickUp.
You can see the Padres Stadium from a very nice vantage point. You can see bright colors everywhere. You can see a couch in the shape of the ClickUp logo. You can see a CEO wearing sweatpants with the ClickUp logo on them. You can see lots of camera equipment and video equipment everywhere. You can see a lot of really happy people.
I love that. Okay, we have two more. Well, this one is a little more abstract, so you'll have to think of a
Oh
scene
god.
that goes with it.
Okay.
Your greatest marketing campaign.
Okay. Is it like holistic or like
A
one
moment in
piece of
it,
it?
I would say. Maybe a moment that you realized it was one of the best ones you've ever done and you were really proud of it, or it was taking off, right? So pick a moment and describe the scene there.
Okay. I'll like start from the scene. Um you can see people from the company that we decided to go after starting to comment. You can see emails flooding our inbox from those people as well. You can see hundreds of thousands of views across different platforms. And you can see people saying it was one of the best ad campaigns they've ever seen.
What about in the room where you were, right, with the people that you were working with? What can you see there?
You can see happiness and excitement and uh validation that we got it right.
Hey, Mariya here. Thank you for listening to the Marketing Speakeasy, where we serve marketing industry secrets with a twist. I really hope you enjoyed our conversation with Melissa. Melissa is fantastic. I am still thinking about the things that she said, and I'm recording this outro a day later, which, like 24 hours, could be longer, but in the marketing industry where our attention spans are shorter than goldfish, I'd say thinking about quotes 24 hours later is a pretty good sign. I cannot stop thinking about the part where she said that out of all of the conversations she's had, like over 100 conversations with marketing leaders in the past year, that she hasn't heard a single new idea. I feel like we should take this as a challenge, listeners, and start coming up with some new and creative ideas in marketing. We want to impress people like Melissa, right? Be at least as creative as her. And if you liked what you've heard, you can find Melissa on LinkedIn as Melissa Rosenthal. We should have a link in the show notes. You can also find Melissa through Outlever. So find Outlever. They are the startup that lets you and your brand become the #1 news source in your industry. If you like what you heard, maybe you want to work with them. And of course, please subscribe and find other episodes of the Marketing Speakeasy. We are over on YouTube. We have our own site page. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your show that you like to listen to. Thank you very much, and I hope you'll tune in for the next one. Bye.
In the shadows, brilliance glows. Low lights, bright ideas flow. Marketing's minds unwind in the speakeasy's glow. Spilling secrets, spilling drinks. Legends meet where wisdom sinks. Vintage vibes with modern flair. Strategies beyond compare. Sipping wisdom, sharing tales. Marketing's past and future sales. Unfiltered conversations thrive in this speakeasy jive. Unlocking stories, secrets soar. Marketing insights to explore. A toast to past and future dreams in a lounge where brilliance beams.